And good evening, everyone. Welcome in to my Pacers live post-game show as the Pacers are on to the Eastern Conference Finals for the second consecutive year. Yeah, I'm not at home. I'm not at my background like I normally am. I'm in Chicago for the NBA Draft Combine as usual. So a little different setup, but hopefully you can still hear me and we can have a great show again here tonight as the Pacers are in the Final Four. Unbelievable what they just accomplished. Never losing at Rocket Arena this season, handling the Bucks in 5 games, handling the Cavs in 5 games, and now they're already looking ahead. It'll probably be the Knicks, but I'm not counting out the Boston Celtics just yet. I can't. They're just too good, too tough, despite the fact that Jason Tatum not only suffered an Achilles injury, but had surgery. So he is done for quite a while, unfortunately. So sad to hear that about one of the best players in the league who's just coming into his own, quite frankly. But the Pacers get it done tonight. 114-105, the final. And once again, I'll start with the spread. What are we doing here? The Pacers were underdogs in all 5 games. Tonight, last I saw, it was 7.5 points. Unreal. And they still won and hung on and easily not only covered that, but easily beat that. And so hopefully some of you were some big winners out there in addition to seeing the Pacers get the job done here today. I thought one of the big things in these closeout type games is you need stars to rise to the occasion. And we saw that with Tyrese Halliburton and with Pascal Siakam. 31 points, the best postseason game for Tyrese Halliburton. Yes, he's had a couple game winners, but tonight was the most complete performance, I thought, that we saw from Halliburton in total. Really impressive. 31 points. You saw 21 points, 8 rebounds from Pascal Siakam. So the two combining for 52 of their 114 points. Just remarkable. By the way, how's my audio? Everything good on this broadcast as I do it? I could plug in just a little bit different of a setup, obviously, here. But if this is good, I'll just keep rolling along. Let me know in the comments, please. But yeah, Jason, still in Chicago. I just got here. And it's been a fruitful day already, I can tell you, between talking with team people, talking with agents, talking with people from other teams. This is incredibly valuable. Now, it certainly doesn't beat being there, boots on the ground, covering this Eastern Conference semifinal series. But this is a good spot here for me to get a lot of work done. See a lot of people that I'm normally just tapping in with phones, calls, and text and all those sorts of things. And then on top of that, the bonus of talking with so many players that will be in the draft class. Pacers have the 23rd overall pick, but obviously their focus right now is on the Eastern Conference Finals. And what's fascinating about that too is they're going to have at least a week off or so. The series could begin as soon as May 19th, probably May 21st if the Knicks can't hold off. But what we do know, as I tweeted about first couple weeks ago, is we're going to have Racers and Pacers coming up in 2 weeks on Sunday, May 25th. As the Indianapolis 500 has its 109th running. Well, I'm sure that evening, probably a 7 or 8 p.m. tip. That'll be on TNT with Reggie Miller on the game broadcast as well, by the way, which will be great. It's going to be an electric time downtown Indianapolis with the 500. And then at night, of course, there with game 3 of what will be the Eastern Conference Finals, probably against the Knicks, but could be Boston. Yeah, PJ's Eastern Conference bound again, and it feels so good. I love that for you. I thought Rick Carlisle said it well to begin his press conference. Happy for fans, happy for ownership, and happy for this group. I mean, they have been through a lot together, right? From the awful start, 10-15 on the season. I got to wonder how much going to Paris and having those 10 days together had to be incredibly beneficial for that group as well. That's very much a bonding time. Yet at the same time, this is a perfect example of continuity shining through for this Indiana Pacers team, right? Like, you have a group that was together all of last season. You get a more healthy Halliburton, and then you get a healthy Benedict Mathurin, who played really well a couple games ago. Not a big contributor tonight. I think tonight was a tough one for him. He tried to play safe. He looked like he tried to play safe, but he deviated from who he is. And so it's hard to remove that competitor and still get the player that you want out there. So, I thought it was tough. They were booing him every time he checked in, every time he got the ball, but ultimately the Pacers were able to overcome that tough start, the 19-point deficit. Here the Pacers go again, and that just shows you too, as well as just in the league, especially, is 20-point deficits are not that big a deal. Those are things they can overcome it with enough time. Now, sometimes it happens a little later on, or guys wear down, but not as much with this team, given their depth, given their conditioning level, and those sorts of things. I thought you did see the Cavaliers wear down a little bit, both from attrition and health standpoint. Like Darius Garland looked terrible tonight. He just didn't look healthy. I think he started like 2 of 8, finished 4 of 16. He was just in a tough spot fighting through it. He probably got a painkiller before the game to try to get through it. Donovan Mitchell was struggling a little bit. He lived at the free throw line, just one fewer free throw than the Pacers had as a team. Kumono, hey, let's go. Shout out to you, my friend. I appreciate that. Yeah, that'll go towards this hotel. I'll tell you that. Running my own business, any travel of mine comes straight out of my pocket for you guys, for your coverage. So I appreciate that. Shout out to you for the little donation, if you will, to Fieldhouse Files here. Mr. Compton, yes, I did have dinner. It was an early one. Not many options, just in the hotel lobby here across from the arena. Picked up a basic grilled chicken wrap and had that pregame. What else? Everything sounds good. Very good to hear. Granny Danger's excited. Let's go. 8 wins away. I'll see you at the parade. Don't count your chickens just yet. This team still has a long, long way to go. But you're right. The motto for so many teams, especially the ones real contenders, come into the postseason about you have 16 wins. You need 16 wins to get it done, right? And they're halfway there. They got 8, looking for 8 more. And they got a good shot at it, certainly at least getting to the finals. Then it's just a crapshoot. It depends who they're playing, depends how health is at this point, right? But certainly the Pacers are in a good spot, and now they're going to have probably a week between games to get healthy and get rest, and that's going to help so many guys given their current situation. Hey, Jency, appreciate it, my friend. Thank you so much. Let's keep this train going. I love that, guys. It's unnecessary, but it's certainly appreciated, to be clear. Shout out for the donations here. MK Sinks, I think you're now 10 for 10 on these. And by the way, I was just thinking about this. The fact that the Pacers have won both series in 5 games, they've won 8 of their 10 postseason games, have been really, really impressive. Now, they laid an egg in those 2 losses for sure. In a couple of their wins, they clawed out of them, and they had to hit a game-winning shot here and there. But to me, that is not luck. That is good teams making the play. It's making something happen, right? And I thought they did an incredible job of doing that. But anyway, MK Sinks questions. Again, Jency, appreciate you. Kumomo, appreciate you. It was a bit shaky at the start of the game. Those fouls added up quickly. I was wondering if it would be worrisome for this group, but they are built different. Love the fight, not to mail it in. Yeah, absolutely. I would completely agree with that one. No doubt about that, especially given the foul trouble. It seemed like in that first quarter and a half, Donovan Mitchell was marching to that free throw line, living at that free throw line, getting more attempts than the Pacers early on. And what also struck with me in those first quarter and some was the effectiveness inside on the Cavs standpoint. You needed Evan Mobley. You needed Jarrett Allen to be more solid, much more of a contributor, as those two combined for 10 of the Cavs' first 13 points, as the Cavs then grew that lead to 12 after 1 and to as many as 19 in that game. Jason, likely Knicks. The Tatum injury is brutal, for sure. And there's so many things. Just this is where bad luck certainly plays in, right? You had this Tatum injury, and Porzingis just hasn't been himself this series and really this season. They're saying some kind of illness, but he can't get a handle of it. But to me, that's remarkable in a bad way. These guys have access to the top doctors locally, nationally, internationally, and they're not sure exactly what he's going through. It's not an cold. It's not a pneumonia. They're not sure what it is. And so that's actually quite scary if you're a KP and Kristaps Porzingis and the Celtics as they deal with those type of injuries. Jency, yep, Indy got it done. Absolutely, they sure did. And so, man, it's going to make for a crazy weekend here coming up in a couple weeks in Indy as we get back there. As you go straight from race qualification to carb day to that Saturday. Get this, on Saturday you have the 500 Festival Parade, and former pacer Scott Pollard, by the way, is the grand marshal of that. But then the Fever play the defending champs, the New York Liberty. I think it's at a 1 o'clock tip, if I remember right, on that Saturday. Then on the Sunday, you'll have the 500, which will probably green flag at maybe noonish. And then I'm guessing the Pacers will be like 8 p.m. on TNT. That's purely a guess. We do not know. But we do know if the Knicks finish off the Celtics coming up in Game 5, that it will be. Game 1 will be on May 19th. Otherwise, Game 1 will be on May 21st. Could definitely see the Cavs bending over a lot and looking winded for sure. And that plays right into the Pacers game plan. And I think having any of us who have played basketball, right, didn't we all have that coach that said, hey, don't show them you're tired. Even if you are, don't bend over. Don't give them an awareness that that strategy is winning out, that you're having success. So I thought about that here during the game. And then again, PJ, as you mentioned that. MK, still wild. The Pacers won 3 on the road this series. Yeah, shows a lot of growth and maturity. I completely agree. Better than that, they were 5-0 on the road in Cleveland this season. 5-0, never lost in Cleveland. The 2 games they did were in Indy. Otherwise, what was the number? They had beaten them 7 of 9 meetings this season when you factor in regular season and postseason. However, obviously a big asterisk caveat there that they played 2 of the final 3 games of the season. Those games did not matter for the 64-win Cavs, who had a brilliant season. They had the Coach of the Year, Kenny Atkinson. He was the Rudy Tomjanovich Award winner from our Pro Basketball Writers Association for a coach who's great with the media, and Kenny Atkinson absolutely is. But you know what those mean for those guys? Nothing. They don't care now. They wanted to get to the Eastern Conference Finals and things like that. So as great as the regular season was, it doesn't mean much, unable to advance here now into the postseason. Justin Concepcion, oh, my Fever friend, Tipson final roster spot. Absolutely. And that was expected. So no surprise there. And Jaylen Brown, again, no surprise there. The final cut as they trim the roster to 11 ahead of the deadline coming up on Thursday, May 15th. Mr. Compton says, question how a playoff roster works. Let's say a team loses 5 players for the rest of the playoffs. Are they able to get replacements? That's quite the stretch there. I doubt it. I actually don't know because I can't remember this ever happening to this extent. What I can tell you is the two-way players are not available. So it's not like for the Pacers, for an example, you can't throw Quentin Jackson out there. The two-ways are not eligible for postseason competition. Maybe if a team got down to like 7 players, this would become a factor. But if you're down 5, okay, you still have 10 players available. So I don't think that's really an issue or something we've seen before. Chase, appreciate the thumbs up. Jason, Knicks Pacers will be heck of a series. It sure will. And I was also thinking about this. If you like the emotions and everything that comes with the series as well, how about the fact it's the final series on TNT history? And Reggie Miller will be the game analyst for it. Think about that, right? I think we're kind of past Hicks versus Knicks. Like that was a classic, especially for me in Indy growing up. I think we're kind of past that though. It's not the case anymore. If anything, it's more, I think about that WWE fight, right, as I put that in air quotes, between Halliburton and Jalen Brunson on the ringside at Madison Square Garden. I think that was in July, maybe June of last year, almost 12 months ago. You have the Team USA connection from several of them, even going back to the select team. So what do you want to do with some of your best friends, right? You want to kick their ass and show them I'm better. You want the bragging rights. So that's Jalen Brunson. That's Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges as well. OG Anunoby is seemingly healthy. So you do have a healthier Knicks team going in, right? Last year, Jalen Brunson was fading late. OG Anunoby played in like 1 game. Was it Julius Randle that missed a couple of games as well? So the Pacers didn't face a fully healthy Knicks team, and vice versa. Halliburton wasn't himself, and again, Mathurin, obviously. So that's why you can lean a little bit off last year, but still so many things are different when you come up with that series. And so, yes, it'll be a heck of a series if that'll more than likely end up being what we see. But again, Knicks still have to close it out. The Pacers became the first team in the postseason to advance to the conference finals, to the round of just four. They're back in the final four for the second year in a row. Last time, I was covering it last time, actually, 2013 and 2014, the last time they made back-to-back appearances in the Eastern Conference Finals. PJ, the late gameplay is what the Pacers couldn't do last year, especially against Boston closing. This team is more poised, able to close games. Absolutely. No question about that. I think I hate to keep going back on it, re-harping on it, but that was significant, the way in which the Pacers closed the season. While not ideal, it gave them those reps, those opportunities to have to finish and fight. And they were terrific in March. They lost that Lakers game they never should have lost, but they also won a couple games they had no business winning as well. I'm thinking of that Minnesota game, Obi Toppin going off. All those things come up big time, I think, right now. And this team got that experience in the postseason last year. And now, yeah, it's funny. I saw someone mention the fact that, Tyrese Halliburton hadn't made the playoffs until last year. Now he has 2 straight years, and his team's gone back-to-back appearances in the conference finals. So I do believe a lot in that experience, both together and individual experience. And then now this second year, as this team is together, same coaching staff, all of that, they're in a much better spot for success. As you mentioned, whether it's closing late, overcoming big deficits, getting shots when they need, out-of-bound execution, how they handle that success, but also how they handle failure. There's so many lessons that goes into this, and I think that they are learning from and being able to stack on top of each other as they want to stack days and stack this success for sure. But good point. What time is game 6? Oh, never mind. There you go, Raul. Having good fun with it, right? I appreciate it because, one, it allows me to focus on the draft combine, plus the Fever WNBA season gets started on Saturday. In addition to getting some stories churned out and prepared for leading up to next week with the Eastern Conference Finals as well. So it'll give us all a breather, right, from basically this schedule, which is every other day, if not every couple days, for sure. Nembhard comes up big in the biggest games. He hit the big shots in the fourth. Yeah, I wrote about that about a month ago on Fieldhouse Files during the first series. As Nembhard does not shy away from the big shot. Andrew loves it, especially that left side three-pointer, right on the arc, probably 27 feet out. He did it against the Knicks, I want to say, in Game 3 last year. He's so big when it comes to those shots, those moments, and that's in addition to what he does defensively. And the same thing can be said, by the way, guys, about Aaron Nesmith. Did you guys know he was the game-high 13 rebounds? Game-high 13 rebounds, more than any of the centers, either team. 13 rebounds for Aaron Nesmith. Just went out and got it. Plus 13 points, plus a couple assists, plus a couple steals, and that's in addition to what he's doing defensively. He's not going to pop on the box score because he doesn't have 30 points in this game, but he was an integral part of this series, of this playoff run, and he's a guy that's just on the first year of what's turned out to be a bargain of a contract. Absolutely. If the Pacers beat the Knicks, do you think Tyrese will wear that Reggie sweatshirt again? Probably. You're already thinking well ahead, but probably. He's a creature of the moment. And also, go back to what I said a few minutes ago. It would be Reggie Miller's final broadcast with TNT. Now he's going on to NBC. It'll be him and Kevin Harlan, and I assume Ali LaForce calling that game. But wherever that is, that's a memorable and special one. And of course, he'll be rooting for the Pacers as much as he can, and needing to put his bias aside a little bit, certainly, for the series. But I'm sure there'll be some fun interactions between he and Spike Lee as well that always add drama and a little bit of fun to what will be an intense battle. I'm not ready to pick that series just yet if it gets to that point with the Knicks. I also think, let me know what you guys think about this. I saw Miles post it. I've seen fans post it. What do people care about predictions? I don't. That's why I try not to make any of them. Right? Obviously, the ESPN, all the reporters picked the Cavs to win it. Why should anybody be surprised? They were the top team in the Eastern Conference. They were dominant at home. I think 34-5 during the regular season. And they were fully healthy basically at that time. Donovan Mitchell had a little ailment, but then they got into this series with the Pacers, and Hunter got injured in the first game. What was it? Mobley got injured in the first game. And then, oh, sorry, it was Darius Garland dealing with the great big toe injury. They're going back to last series. But I don't know. I don't get caught up in that. I just don't understand why everybody likes to check out what everybody's predicting and lean into that. I don't think that's big a deal. You know why those reporters are making picks? It's because their bosses told them to. It's not that they want to. Maybe the debate show, sure, but that doesn't count. That's not journalism. They're just entertaining. But me personally, yeah, I just don't care about those. But I do know the players will use anything for fuel, including those type of predictions. So I get it. Let's get down. A lot more comments here to come. The Cadavers disappoint again. Pacers can rest and come to the Fever opener. They could. Yeah, Fever and opener coming up Saturday against the Chicago Sky. That'll be a good one on May 17th. I will be there and have full coverage for you on here as well as fieldhousefiles.com. Question, is Larry Bird still involved with the Pacers? I only see Pritchard and Simon sitting in the crowd. Not really. He's not. He's mostly in Florida or his home in Brown County. He sold his house on the north side of Indy, but he mostly spends his time down in Florida. For what I'm told, I think he was around the franchise, at least to my knowledge, twice last year. He's still on a consultant role, but it's one of those. He is welcome anytime to the practice facility, to the draft workouts, which he really enjoys, and you may see him coming up in a month, or I guess less than a month. We're already in May. Oh my goodness. You might see him twice a year, but he's not really involved. He's retired and out of basketball. Like he doesn't care to show up to a lot of those things, and I don't blame him. That was so much of his life. Now he's a grandpa and can do what he wants and enjoy whatever he wants to do. But I can tell you for sure, he's definitely watching this series, I'm sure, and watching on proudly. While overall, this team, you have Herb and Steve Simon, then you have Kevin Pritchard, Chad Buchanan, Ted Wu, and Ryan Carr as well from that front office. But good question, because a lot of people may not know that. Quimomo says, with Tatum out, I think the Celtics might be the better opponent for the Pacers. Either way, I'm cautiously optimistic for the Celtics or the Knicks. We'll see. That'll be who they play. So I hope you're optimistic about that. I think the better matchup right now, given the health and everything, is obviously the Celtics, right? With no Tatum. The Knicks resemble the Pacers in many ways, right? They're hard play. Some are their depth, although I will say they play their key guys heavy minutes and don't apologize for it whatsoever. Those key guys, like top six, play a lot of minutes. So that is one area where they are different than the Pacers, but they have more firepower, I think, especially on the wing, right? And Bridges and my brain's off. OG Anunoby. Karl Anthony Towns provides a different look as well, right? You already have some people that would love to see a potential finals with the Knicks and the Timberwolves, just because of the trade they made before the season. But either way, it'll be a very fascinating and entertaining Final Four and Eastern Conference Finals in particular. So no doubt about that. Lisa, Fever plays Chicago Saturday. Right. I was talking a couple weeks from now when it's the day before the Indianapolis 500. It's Fever Liberty on May 24th, the day before what would be game 3 at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. That'll be the Liberty. But you're right. This Saturday is the New York Liberty, the Chicago Sky to open the season. And that will air nationally on ABC and ESPN. Flamekeeper says, even if the Cavs were healthy, the Pacers would have been the better team. As it was no contest. I think you're absolutely right, but I'm just explaining why I feel it's no surprise or no slight on the Pacers that so many people thought maybe the Cavs would win. Well, just the Cavs had like 2 win streaks of like 18 and 15 games throughout the regular season. They were dominant at home. They upgraded themselves at the trade deadline, added DeAndre Hunter, and had success. But you know what? They ran into a Pacers team that's not a good matchup for them. They are so lenient on 2 bigs, What doesn't work against the Pacers is two bigs. If anything, you want to go small. Well, that takes away two of their superstars, right? And so you don't want to deal with that. So it's just a bad matchup for the Cavs as well, ultimately. Brutal to see my Celtics lose Tatum. Eorlangus says, Fever got me watching exciting Pacers. Miles Turner with those blocks and smooth rhythm offense. Fever want to match the Pacers ball movement. Absolutely. There's so many similarities between the Fever and Pacers. It's not ridiculous. It's funny. By the way, 4 blocks for Miles Turner tonight, 10.7 rebounds. He wasn't dominant or huge, but I thought he made several huge plays, especially there in that second half. That chase down block was just phenomenal. So was the one that came from Benedict Mathurin, I thought, who had otherwise kind of a tough night, kind of taken out of his groove and who he was. But I thought he played just okay in his minutes out there. It was mostly the starters that led the way for this Pacers team tonight. Obi Toppin was phenomenal last game. TJ McConnell's had his moments, but when it comes nut cutting time, right? They go to that starting group. I was glad we saw Rick Carlisle and the coaches go back 2 minutes into that fourth quarter when things got a little nervous, things got a little tight for the Pacers. He went right back to Halliburton and Nesmith there 2 minutes into the fourth quarter, and they didn't lose that lead, right? We saw the Cavs get to within 1. It was 98-97, and then the Pacers rattled off 8 straight points, and it wasn't a contest really after that, as then they went on to win 114-105, the final here tonight. Jency wants to gut feeling, Scott, on which team coming out of the Western Conference this year. Man, it's tough. I see. I part of what's tough about doing all of this and covering one team specifically is you don't have as much time as you'd like to watch the other games right now. I have my phone out a lot, both to monitor Twitter, first of all, but second of all, the other games that are out there, right? And right now you have that Nuggets OKC game. I tend to lean OKC, but at the same time, man, I don't know. Minnesota, they got something about them. I would say my default would be OKC. But look, picking the favorite is not necessarily the best route. We see that with the Cavs here throughout this series. But the OKC has depth. They have all of that. So that's a challenge one. All right, what else do we got here? PJ, is there a schedule for Eastern Conference Finals yet? There is. Outside of game, I have it on my phone already. Outside of game 1, we do know here. So game 1 will either be May 19th or May 21st. But then after that, let's say the Knicks finish off the Celtics. So the series would start May 19th and then be the 21st. Then game 3 would be in Indy on the 25th. If that is not the case, if the Celtics keep the series going on, game 1 would be the 21st, game 2 the 23rd, and then in Indy on the 25th. So they would have the Pacers and the Knicks would have that much bigger gap there if the Knicks are able to finish them off there. So 19th or 21st for game 1 is the main thing you need to know of. 25th, 27th for game 3 and 4 back at Indy. Do the Knicks have any shot blockers? I feel like Pacers can drive to the hole on them. Well, certainly, they have some inside presence with Karl Anthony Towns in particular. This Pacers, that's not fair. I was going to say it's not really an attacking team, but it can be and it should be, and that's part of what I love early on from Tyrese Halliburton. Right, like he read the defense. Thought about a 3 instead, attacked, finished. He did the floater. That's what we're talking about when we want to see Ty be more assertive. And when he just takes 8 shots, or there was that game last series against the Bucks where I think 8 of his 9 shots were from outside the arc and he just didn't have it going. He was great tonight in so many different layers and initiating the offense and dishing out 8 assists and grabbing 6 rebounds, obviously scoring a team high 31 points and knocking down almost as many threes as the Cavs did as a team. And that was obviously a big area where the Pacers had an advantage, plus 6 threes. Therefore, they were plus 18 from beyond the arc there. But I would say they have some inside presence. But remember, they lost Isaiah Hartenstein. That's what you got to remember from last season. That is one huge difference. He is now with the OKC Thunder, and so that was a big presence in the middle there. Early for the Knicks. But good question. Longus, will there be arena conflict with both the Pacers and Fever play on the same day? No, they plan ahead for all this. So no worries at all. Does Caitlin Clark's boyfriend work for the Pacers? What is his role? No, he does not. You're talking about Connor McCaffrey, who just finished his first season as an assistant coach for Butler in town. As part of Thad Matta's men's basketball staff. The year before that, he was an intern for the team, what they call a basketball assistant, kind of doing everything, a lot of video, a lot of on-court work, a lot of practice, literal practice time. But he is not with the Pacers anymore. Just wrapped up his first season on the Butler basketball staff. One of his brothers was on that team, Patrick McCaffrey, and his other brother, Jack, will be a freshman next season at Butler as well. So, by the way, when Caitlin's in the suite, he's always up in that suite as well. Zendo, hi from Austria. That's amazing. Wow. Flame Keepers, appreciate you. I think you're the third person getting on here, making a nice little contribution here to the Fieldhouse Files Fund. I appreciate it. Let's call it the travel fund here as I'm in Chicago. If you're wondering why I have this backdrop, where's my normal backdrop? Why am I not at that game? I'm in Chicago right now for the NBA Draft Combine. It's something I've gone to annually probably for the last 14 years or so. A couple exceptions, right? The pandemic was one, and last year was one as well. Pacers didn't have a first-round pick, and Caitlin Clark's opening game as a pro was in Connecticut, so I chose to travel there instead. Again, Flamekeepers, appreciate it. Shout out to you, as well as the other couple guys that contributed here. MK Turner 3 to put Pacers up 114 under a minute was the dagger. Exactly right. And you probably read that on my At the Buzzer column. That's exactly what I said as well. You had the Nembhard and one, and then you had that dagger by Miles Turner. I thought that was cool. Miles to have the last say in this series, a guy that's been through so much, been with the franchise for 10 years. He did that big story on the Players Tribune, so good for him. He deserves everything that's come his way, and it'll be a big offseason for him and the Pacers as well with contract negotiations, to be sure. Mitchell 3 to cut it to with they're in 3 with 127 left. Nail biter for sure. What was that? It was 127. It was 106, 103. But then you had the Nembhard and one. Halliburton had 2 free throws. I forgot to mention those right there. And then you had that dagger by Miles Turner to put it away. And again, Pacers were the underdog in all 5 games. It was mostly like 5.5. The last I saw for this one coming in was 7.5. Outrageous. I didn't understand that one at all, given the Pacers' dominance in the series, given their success, given how good they had been at Rocket Arena, and the health issues with the Cavaliers going in. We didn't know if Mitchell would play. Now he somehow was able to and performed quite well. 35 points, 15 of those coming at the free throw line, But yeah, if anything, I would have thought maybe Cavs favored by 2.5, right? That seems fair. That basically gives them the home court advantage. Flamekeepers hope the Knicks go 6 and they're all worn out when they pay the Pacers. Then the Pacers in 6. You got them in 6. All right. And if that's the case, the series would start May 21st, and Pacers would have more than a week off. They'll get home probably, I guess it's 11:15 back in Indy. They'll get home after midnight, probably 1 a.m. Take the next day at least off. I'm guessing reserves, those that don't play a ton, will get in every day, get their cardio, get their weightlifting, get their shots up, have some film sessions. The starters will get in for treatment. That'll be huge, getting with their physical therapists, getting massages, having the right fluids, eating properly, and setting themselves up for success in that Eastern Conference Finals. Matt, your comment went away. Jency, Mr. Compton, I believe he's on the coach. Yeah, no, it's not Butler State. It's just Butler University. Hinkle, the scenes you see at Hinkle Fieldhouse. Arnold, welcome. Fever versus Bully Baller Saturday. Oh, boy. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that. But that'll be a fun game coming up Saturday against the Chicago Sky. The draft combine, by the way, held at Wintrust Arena, which is home to the Chicago Sky. And obviously they added Haley Van Lith, who played he played at like 3 different colleges. Most recently, I think TCU, but also Louisville. So I'm guessing there will be a contingent of Louisville fans, but not too many because fever tickets and such sell out. So that's quite wild. I think I'm going to do the race in game 3. Anyone else? It's the Indy double. The Indy double is what we're calling it. All right. Coming up Sunday, May 25th. Indianapolis 500 for the 109th running, and then Pacers, Knicks, or Celtics that night. I'm guessing, don't know, guessing it'll probably be like 8 p.m. coming up on that Sunday. Oops, might want to take the lid off there, right? There you are, Matt, joining the best post-game show in the NBA a little bit late. Looks like a hotel room. Yep. I'm not in Cleveland. Nope. I'm in Chicago for the NBA draft combine. Pacers don't credential me still. So otherwise I would be there and in that locker room getting you the info and the stories that you want. But in turn, I'll just get different type of stories in the meantime. And if the Pacers go to the finals, the good news is, by the way, those credentials are handled by the NBA and not the team specifically. Did I hear right that Michael Jordan might be covering games? No, not exactly. They'll probably use him on NBC next year for like features, one-offs. I could see him like sit down one-on-one with Charles Barkley for a feature or things like that. I would not expect him to be sitting at a desk and critiquing, this game 5 Pacers win over the Cavs at all. We don't know specifically, but they're calling it kind of a consultant role. Or a contract, kind of a contract. I think they'll work him in when they can. But he won't be a regular like every Tuesday night or anything like that, by the way. James says, after the success that the Pacers have had, how likely do I believe the organization will run it back next year, even if they don't win the championship? Very likely, mostly because you have all the guys under contract again, right? There'd be no reason not to, quite frankly. The only things you might be motivated to do is to make a couple tweaks to try to upgrade, right? You got to bring back Miles Turner. He is too integral to what this Pacers team does and how they want to play. He'll be a free agent here. There aren't going to be a lot of teams. There won't be more than a couple teams with the proper space. And so I was even having a conversation with someone here today. Who are the Pacers bidding against? That's something they got to keep in mind when they're making an offer here. On the other side, this might be one of Miles Turner's last contracts. If it's several years, it might be his biggest final one. So he's got to go get all he can as well. But I also think he values the situation, right? And we'll get into this much more in the offseason when it's more prudent. But he likes where he's at. And I think it matters to him and means something to play in one city. And right now they are on a roll. He had all those down years. To now they're having the success. So why would you want to leave somewhere as long as you get your fair market value? Kimono, I feel the Bucks were tougher opponents than the Cavs. I think that just is because of Giannis, quite frankly. That's it. And the Cavs did not shoot it well. That was one of the most surprising things in this series is how they were not a big threat from three-point land. They really weren't. 9 of 35, 9 of 35, 26% tonight. They just weren't that impressive, and a lot of guys weren't making shots. I mean, Max Strus didn't score tonight, 0 for 9, including 0 of 6 from distance. So I will say Giannis is a much more imposing guy. He's clearly the best player in the series. But the Cavs, I think, were the better team, especially when they were near 100%. Scott, would you rather the Pacers have more rest or start Monday? I think you'd go for more rest. I really do, especially the way in which they play. It would also mean your opponent would play another game in between there. And so they would have less rest. So that's what I would want. John asked, was Caitlin Clark in the house? No, the game was in Cleveland, not Indianapolis. Do I remember a lot of the plays that happened, or do guys normally jot down highlight plays? I've always wondered that. Do you mean me or the players? I can speak to me. Do you remember a lot of the plays? I guess you're asking me, and I have a little bit of both. I have a couple notes here on my screen, the key ones, but like we were talking the late game finish, you remember those. You remember that and one right from Nembhard, and you remember the dagger from Miles Turner, and you remember that run of Tyrese making the 3 straight triples, and then Siakam, I think it was in the third quarter, hitting a couple, and then Halliburton hitting one, and they had another run of 3 straight triples. So it's a combination of all those things. I'm doing so much during the game that the first time I watch it and when I watch it live, it doesn't completely all absorb, right? Because I'm tweeting, I'm on the stats here on my iPad, which is right next to me. This is on my computer. At home games, when I was credentialed, I'd have my binoculars. I'm watching the bench. I'm looking for injuries. There are so many things that I try to pay attention to that sometimes you forget some of the key plays. But any of the major stuff, late game scenarios, game winners, yeah, you're going to remember those. Absolutely. Do I think Matherin and Hunter feud extends off the court as well? I think it's personal beef between them. I think it's just competitive, two competitive guys, right? And Matherin had this last series with Gary Trent Jr. So I don't think it's personal, like they're going to be looking each other up, the next time they're in the same city or anything like that. But I bet next year it'll continue on for sure. Katie, no credentials is insane. Do you have credentials to cover the Fever? Yes, this year. Yeah, absolutely. I'm all good. Full access. My photographer's in there, so we can get great coverage. In addition to my work, Ryan does a tremendous job with taking photos at games. So it won't be every game, but many games, which adds to my content here at Fieldhouse Files. But yeah, I don't understand it. It really just hurts you, the fans. And it also hurts the players because less players get their stories out there. Less players are heard from. And that's one of the things I take great pride in, is telling players the stories and documenting what I hear, what I see, and providing that best class access and beat writing that I've done ever since 2012. I go back to those first couple of years when the Pacers made back-to-back appearances in the conference finals. I'm the only one on the beat that can say that. And I think that matters. Just like this experience for the players matters, I think the experience of mine matters for a variety of reasons. There are only a couple people within the organization who go further back than I do in talking about the Pacers. Quite remarkable, right? All right, at least a couple more here. We're already pushing 45 minutes. I'm just a little worried, a little loud on the other side, but Eor Longus, appreciate the contribution, my friend. That's big time. You guys have been so very generous with me here tonight and helping to pay some bills and provide those little tips here. So all of it is very much appreciated. And if you haven't joined me already, again, let me send you to fieldhousefiles.com. That's where all my work is, all my coverage there. So I appreciate it. Let's see what else. Any indication who the Pacers would like or anyone they should target in the draft? Not yet. Way too early for that. Front office and such are still meeting with guys. And it's also pick 23. Maybe you move it. Maybe you go get a more ready-made player, because right now you're in a championship type window and you're wanting to maximize that. You're not wanting to as much develop. Although I will say, to that point, the other thing is you're up against the luxury tax. So probably have to go in it, but we'll see. Well, because of that, that means a rookie contract, especially one of a first round pick that's, for 4 years slotted in there, that becomes incredibly valuable. So the 23 spot, never very intriguing, right? But for the reasons I just explained, maybe it also is, but far too soon to talk prospects or anything like that. But I can say, I used Mackenzie Mbako was impressive, today. Squirt a lot, shot it well. But again, this is a contained, sterile kind of environment. I think the biggest thing is those meetings with the front offices and such. And we'll get into all that a little bit later. A lot more here. Wow. Not going to lie, I'm rooting for the Nuggets because of Jokic, then the Pacers. I'm not sure the Celtics can finish without Tatum. Yeah, I agree on those accounts. I would love to see Jokic have some success and get back to the finals. I think it'd be fun. Think about the TV. TV would not like a Denver Pacers final, but I certainly would. Minnesota would be great. OKC would be great. Two small markets going at it. But again, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's see who first the Pacers have to play and then see how they match up, right? Did we find out what happened between Matherin and Giannis? We did not. No. Does credentials mean you get to go to the games for free? That's part of it. The main thing is it means you're in the interview room. It means part of it could be you're in the locker rooms. You're in the media room working. That's the biggest thing. I could go get a ticket to the game, but that's not effective. I rather do these live post-game shows and write my stories and things like that. The biggest thing is direct access to players and coaches for stories. So it directly contributes to my work. But Yeah. So it's unfortunate. I hope something gets resolved. I don't know what it is. No one has told me why, and that's the most painful thing of all of it. PVT Sesh, finally someone goes live for this win. Thank you. Hey, I'm live after every single Pacers playoff game, win or lose. So please subscribe and make sure you join me after every game. Welcome. Just Jules, there you are. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. KDB says, okay, I'm glad. I'm excited to see you cover the Fever. I've loved your training camp videos. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Definitely means a lot that obviously covering the draft combine. So, I'm not going to have practice videos over the next several days, but I will be back at practice coming up Friday for Fever. Quick notes, day-to-day is Damaris Dantas and Sophie Cunningham headed into Saturday. Was it previously called Vigilant Sports and changed to Fieldhouse Files? Wow. You have been with me for a long time. I launched Vigilant Sports back in 2010, then kind of shut it down after I got hired by The Athletic in 2018. I had no reason to write on that when I had The Athletic. And then when I was laid off by The Athletic during the pandemic, I created Fieldhouse Files to have a fresh palette, a fresh site. It's on the Substack platform. And then obviously it leaned heavily on Pacers and anything else that happened at the Fever. But wow, I'm impressed, Mr. Compton. You go all the way back with me to Vigilant Sports. Absolutely. People don't know this. Many don't. My original podcast was the Vigilant Sports Pacers podcast. How about that? My thoughts on the Fever cutting Jaylen Brown and keeping Michaela Timpson, exactly what they wanted to do, what I thought they would do, and they ultimately did it. Jaylen Brown, at least what we saw, and I try to stress to people, we don't get to watch every practice in terms of the full practice. We get maybe 20 minutes at best. There's been 2 training camp practices of the 10 where we've seen none. So we're just going off of, and talking about media, we're going off of preseason games and the limited scope that we are able to watch the games. But in all of that, both in what we saw and especially what I heard, they really liked Michaela Timpson. They call her KK. So anytime you hear KK, that is Timpson, the rookie coming from out of Florida State there. A player that is very much maybe the future replacement for Natasha Howard. And those two just got along very well. Fever really like what they have there, and I could see her being in the rotation early on into the season. Timpson's a great asset. Brown can go. I'd love to see Turner go and grab someone else. Maybe you will. You're right. She hasn't been super impressive in camp to me either, in talking about that position as well. Right now they have 11 players. They'll probably add another player next month. Due to salary cap restraints, they got to wait till a contract can be prorated. And at that point, I don't have the exact number, I need to get it, but once the contract prorated enough, then they're under the salary cap. Therefore, they can make it work there. Please do a stream during this long playoff Pacer layoff. Might have to. I certainly will do a Fever one, I think, leading up to Saturday's opening night at Gamebridge Fieldhouse. But you're right. I think I should probably do a couple. I also want to get a little bit more creative with it and see if I can do a double box with a guest as well, get some graphics. That's really how I'd like to spruce it up. I just haven't had time to figure all of that out. Was I also surprised that Tyrese came in back to the game as early as he did after those 2 fouls? No, because you had to. You were getting down. This is a game you couldn't allow get away from you as much as they did. And so, look, you also, by the way, and Halliburton finished with 3 fouls. Neesmith finished with 5, but too many times, I think, generally speaking, especially in college, is a player will pick up 2 fouls in the first 4 minutes and you won't see them the rest of the half. I hate that. I think you got to read the player, you got to read the situation and all of that stuff and then adapt accordingly. Yep. Shout out to R. Smith. Exactly right. I'm live after every single game. And if you miss it, you can go on the podcast or on the archive on my YouTube channel to watch it back as well. Jency, I read Miles' work in the Players Tribune. So nice. Absolutely. I thought he handled it very well. What happened to Dantas? I knew that she was out due to a death in the family, and then she had a little illness. No, it's a left lower leg injury. They haven't specified what that is yet, but it's an injury that kept her out of that final preseason game. Do I think so? These are a lot of fever questions for a postseason Pacer playoff game. Do I think Sophie and Dantas plays Saturday? I would think Sophie does. I don't think she's in a boot. I doubt Dantas does. She hadn't been part of anything right now. Tyrese was amazing. He really was. Again, it was the best game of his postseason here this season. Really strong. It was a best overall effort, right? He's had the daggers. He had that game winner. But this is the most complete, assertive, impactful game that he's had in the 10 games. Sounded like about 11 to 14 games, about a third of the season to get the 12th contract. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's roughly a month into the season. That would roughly be a third of the year. I think it's a little less than that, but I haven't got the official thing. I just wanted to preview for Fever fans what they can expect there. MK Sinks, always appreciate the work and these posts to go live. Yep. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Did I see James Johnson's handles in game 4? Sure did. James Johnson. Maybe that's you. I don't know that. But yeah, it was good to see him play. A lot of people laughed when they saw his grill. The thing I love about him, not only him being a good teammate, clearly, based on everything his teammates say. Did you notice? I think I mentioned this on my last one. You notice he wears the same pair of shoes as Tyrese. He wears whatever Pumas Tyrese is wearing, his player exclusives. They also get James a pair in his size. I think that connection is just cool and funny and something I really appreciate and like. Who do I want to see the Pacers play next? I don't really care. Both present incredible storylines, storied franchises. Obviously, the Celtics, defending champs, so you have that. The Knicks, they're thirsty for some kind of postseason success. You have the Reggie Miller calling the game storyline. So it doesn't matter to me. You have Brad Stevens and the Celtics. I think it's going to be the Knicks based on everything we've seen, but I don't really care. I just want a good series, and I think you will get that no matter who the Pacers face in this Eastern Conference Finals. All right, a couple more here, then I'll wrap up. It's probably late for you guys on Eastern time. I already posted my At the Buzzer story. If you haven't checked that out, please do so at fieldhousefiles.com. Do I think Mathurin will eventually get tired of coming off the bench and seek a trade? I remember Sabonis wanted to be a starter instead of being on the bench. Yes, eventually, but not like tomorrow or necessarily next year. I think the biggest thing to watch is, first of all, how he's utilized. I look at minutes, right? So he only played 11 minutes tonight. The Pacers got the win, so I'm sure he can excuse that. But 11 minutes is probably not enough to make him happy. The second thing is he's coming off his rookie contract. So how much are the Pacers offering him? That'll be a big question for Mathurin this offseason. And remember, he has one more year left on his rookie deal. So if he agrees to a deal this offseason, it would not kick in until after next season, which helps with the salary cap situation, right? Assuming they pay Miles Turner, that complicates things a little bit. But with Mathurin in particular here coming up, I think as long as he feels the worth of the franchise, both in how he plays, how he's utilized, how he's coached, and how he's paid, that's what matters ultimately to him, I would suppose. Lucas, wow. The biggest one of the night, my man. Appreciate you. That's big time. Thank you so much. Wow. So many of you are generous tonight. Really appreciate it. I love enjoying making time here for all of you and talk with this post-game show and then make it available on the podcast as well. But I love answering your questions. So shout out to you for that tip, if you will, here. What change would I like to see to NBA All-Stars? Also, what's with Qatar hosting so many sports with the recent NBA games? I think that's just money, Saudi Arabia money. It's global expansion for all these leagues, right? The Colts announced today they're going to be playing over in Germany. I think, is it the Vikings that are playing back-to-back weeks overseas? I think that's the trend of all these sporting events. They're trying to maximize revenue. What would I like to see change in NBA All-Stars? I'd like to see more of a traditional approach. I'd like to see the game presentation be taken seriously. I'd like to see it get back to East versus West. I'd like each player to wear their jersey. So if it's Halliburton, maybe he'd wear the icy white City Edition uniforms, for example. I'd like to see that. That's a Jordan Brand issue. I don't want anything. I want to keep it simple, straightforward. I would also minimize the number of events and obligations that the players have to go through at All-Star Weekend. Because of those, by the time you get to Sunday night, the guys are tired, worn out, exhausted, and all they really can think about is like a 2-day vacation that they have coming up before the practice resumes and then the season. Most people think of role players being on the court. How much do I feel James Johnson's role off the court has improved this team? That's one of those. Not being in the locker room is huge. And I even mean as a team personnel, as a coach, as a staff member, because otherwise you're not going to see it a lot if you're not at those practices and on the bus rides and in the film sessions, how much an individual like James is speaking up. But then that's why, and I've reported on it several times at fieldhousefiles.com. So I encourage you to check it out. I even talked with him last season when he was waived and knew he was going to be brought back, but for certain circumstances, he had to wait his time. And so he sat courtside at a game in Ty's seats. Anyway, he is integral to what they do. I hate the fact that he ties up a roster spot. I'm not a big fan of that. I'm curious what the dynamic, how much different it would really be if he's not in uniform, but is just wearing the same quarter zip, one seat down as a coach. I could see him wanting to get into that after that fact. We'll see. But I think he plays a huge role for the team. And I think you can tell that based when he gets in there and how he supports the team, how the players react to him out there. Those are all the different things that you can see. Papa Hawkins, welcome, my man. Good to see you, my friend. I do find it interesting the NBA is moving the needle in terms of international. Absolutely. I don't like how they've tried to spend so much time in the Africa League and China when I think there's so many ways the NBA product locally, meaning the United States, can improve. I don't think the G League needs to focus on a team down in Mexico. How about strengthening the G League as a whole in the United States before you do that? It's not that I'm opposed to that, but I want the primary product to be as good as it gets before you can do all of that. Where will be the Orlando Johnson story be posted? I don't know when I'll get time to do that, but hopefully soon, meaning like the next month at fieldhousefiles.com and the Fieldhouse Files podcast. Lucas, really proud of the team, as you should be. Fans got to be loving this, right? I mean, they've kind of made it easy on you, quite frankly. Only losing one game in each series, 5-game series. Guys, I thought for sure that this series would go 7 games. Either way, I thought it would go 7 games, but it's not. They obviously had that nail biter where they needed that game winner from Tyrese. They also had that 20-point blowout, but it has been good probably to be Pacer fans like so many of you guys are. PJ, you're very welcome. Glad you enjoyed it down there in Evansville as you listen in, and everybody else wherever you may be. I think we have people listening overseas, Austria, London. I feel like there's an Italy on here, but I could be wrong. But I just appreciate everyone jumping on and joining me here. So it means a lot. If you have any final questions, I will wrap up with just a couple of more here as we're almost turning an hour back-to-back hour-long post-game shows here. And I think I do need to do an updated podcast in the next couple of days as well with a guest talking about the series. It's just tough being here in Chicago for the NBA draft combine and doing all this. And tough battle right now between Denver and OKC ongoing as that one potentially could wrap up. But overall, I guess I really haven't given many of my overwhelming thoughts of this one here. But I just love the fact that the Pacers always had an answer. They always came out and had an answer. They didn't start strong. I expected that fast start from the Cavaliers. If they didn't have that, they were going to be beaten by 20-plus points. And even then, it was a 9-point victory for the Pacers tonight. And again, they were underdog by 7.5 points. Somebody's got to make that make sense because I don't understand that. But nonetheless, Pacers were down by 12 after 1. And then they started to find their shot. And that was so important because they were getting handled in the paint. I think by halftime, they were down 20. It was the difference, like 34-14 in points in the paint. And as I mentioned in my post-game column, it was flipped in that second half. The Pacers had so much more success in the paint. And then on top of that, they were knocking down three-pointers, 15 of 35, 43% clip. That's fantastic. I think that's a good number of threes, 35. I don't like when they only take like 28. I don't think that's quite enough. 28, 29, that's like basketball 7 years ago. I think 35 to 40 would be my preferred range. And then you're looking to make 15 to 20. Ideally would be in that range as well. So the Pacers got it down to 4 points at halftime. They fought back after that early run from the Cavs to start the third quarter. It was another Cavs run to start the fourth, 10-2. And each time the Pacers had an answer for it. And I think that's one of the telltale signs about the state of this team, how connected they are, how they don't get down on themselves, how other guys step up when need be. And tonight, you had your two stars step up when you needed it, with Siakam, with Tyrese Halliburton, the two combining for 52 points to get it done tonight in what was that 114-105 victory to finish off the Cavs. And by the way, I thought it was interesting. The Cavs, they gave fans a black T-shirt and a white rally towel. I'm not sure I've ever seen a team in the playoffs give both to its fan base, but maybe they wanted to give them out just in case there wasn't another game this postseason. I don't know. Maybe they were already printed. All right, a couple other things. George Hill in town, have him as a guest. I don't think he is. Believe he's primarily down in his San Antonio area residence, but I would love that. Love him. Maybe Roy Hibbert. Maybe I'll check in with Roy because he's been following this series very closely. OJ obviously has, and there was another page, TJ Warren. He's not going to do a podcast. Who tweeted about the Pacers as well. Do you think Indiana will be willing to go into the tax? I do, for the right circumstances, just not willy-nilly, not without any plan, but I think they will be willing to do so. Cavs have done towels and shirts each game. They have done them separately. I don't think they've done both for each game. That's what I was saying there, PJs. They did both tonight. I think every team nowadays does one of those things for each game. But no, it was different to do a T-shirt and a towel, at least from what I saw. OKC looks to have the blue and white T-shirts for alternating section. They do, and people fall along there. I don't care what people wear to the games. I know it's a big deal for a lot of people. I saw the Cavs officially tweet out, like, wear your shirts, wear your shirts. Sure, it does provide a cool effect. But, man, if you're paying whatever you're paying, $250, $500 to go to a game, feel free to wear whatever you want. I'm not telling you what to look like. All right, it's a late night. I appreciate everyone jumping on with me. Again, check out my work at fieldhousefiles.com. Thanks to the 5 of you for leaving a tip here at YouTube for me. I get that. It goes directly to my travel budget, like I am right now at the Draft Combine. Tomorrow, by the way, we'll talk with so many of the players that are here trying to make an impression here at the Draft Combine, both with the media, but especially with the teams during their interviews and on the court as well. Cooper Flag, all those different stuff. And I like the fact that the NBA is not everything, but they're mandating several different things, including the measurements and testing for all the players so that they have a pure baseline reading for all those individuals going into the season. Pacers moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals for the second year in a row, 114-105. They defeat the Cavs, go 5-0 at Cleveland this season, win the series in 5 games, 4-1, and it was all led tonight by Tyrese Halliburton getting it done with 31 points. Thanks again to everybody for joining me here live on my live post-game show on YouTube. For those listening later on the Fieldhouse Files podcast, I appreciate it, and I will talk to you all again soon. From Chicago, good night, everybody.